afternoon. Well, thank you all for coming out. I think it's a really wonderful timing to have this rally here in Sydney today. We've obviously seen over the last few months the continuous argy-bargy blaming of each other from Julia Gillard and Tony Abbott on who can be the nastiest, the meanest, the toughest on some of the world's most vulnerable people. And the Australian people are sick of it. The Australian people want better. And continuously, I keep hearing from whether it's people like yourselves on the street, whether it's people waiting at the airport, whether it's taxi drivers, saying, when on earth are our political leaders going to stand up for what it is that we'd already signed up to do? Treat vulnerable people like refugees with dignity, respect and compassion. How hard is it to make sure that we look after people the way we always should? We've seen this week that the impasse between the Labor Party and the Liberal Party over whether to send refugees to Malaysia or refugees to Nauru has ended in a stalemate. Well, it's about ensuring that we use this as an opportunity to make the onshore processing of asylum seeker claims work properly. We need to end mandatory detention. We need to ensure that no child is detained in detention facilities. We need to make sure that we save Australian taxpayers the hundreds of millions and billions of dollars we waste on 24-hour security of locking asylum seekers up like criminals in prisons. We can do all of that. We can do all of that. We just need the political leadership to move forward. And that means using this as an opportunity to say onshore has worked. Onshore processing has worked for the last 60 years actually. Let's make sure we can improve it. Let's make sure we save money in the process and we save people's lives. I've been travelling around the country in the last couple of weeks visiting detention centres as part of the parliamentary inquiry, and it's a really wonderful opportunity that we've had to expose not just people like myself to the conditions in detention, and I've been visiting detention centres for the last 11 years, but members of both the Labor Party and Liberal coalition to see really the conditions within these facilities. I was in Darwin 2 weeks ago, and I must say the Darwin detention facility is one of the worst I have seen in the last 10 years or so. It reminded me, it took me straight back to the days of Baxter and Woomera in South Australia. I just want to tell you a story. I was walking through with the parliamentary committee through the Darwin detention facility, and I saw a security guard standing about 1.5 metres away from a man who was slumped over and looking like he wasn't okay. And this security guard was just sitting opposite him outside his room. And I said to the security guard, I said, "Oh, what are you doing?" He said, "Oh, Senator, I'm on suicide watch." And I said, "Right, so you just sit here and watch this man all day, do you?" He said, "Yep, that's what I've been directed to do." And I said, "So what's the protocol?" He said, "Oh, I have to stand 1.5 metres away from him, and every 50 minutes I ask him what he's been doing." And I said, "Well, he's not doing much." This is the level of care that these very vulnerable people are having in these places. And as I walked through the detention facility, everywhere I looked, every corridor I looked down, I saw exactly the same picture. These security guards, circle officers having to watch people who were on high incident or suicide watch. I walked down one corridor, the committee continued walking through, being shuffled through by departmental bureaucrats, and I turned off. And I went down and I saw this woman security guard, Barbara, and she was sitting opposite one of the rooms with the door ajar. And I said, "Oh, so you're on suicide watch as well?" And she said, "Oh yeah, I've just been put here. The man inside he attempted to hang himself last night." And I tried to talk to her about what her skills are. She's a trained security officer, same skills as a nightclub bouncer, certificate 2 in security. That's the level of expertise she has to deal with this situation. I said, "Has medical seen him?" She said, "Yes, medical told me I have to sit here and watch him." As I was talking to her, the door opened and the man came out. He had a huge bandage on his neck where he had tried to hang himself, and he lifted up his shirt where he had slashed his stomach open. At that stage, the bureaucrats had realised that I had been stopping and talking to people, and the rest of the committee came round as he was lifting up his shirt. It was the best opportunity for those other members of Parliament to see what the reality is that we are doing to people in these places. It is absolutely appalling that we are turning very brave, very courageous, very smart, intelligent people from all over the world into madmen because of the way we've been treating them. We need onshore processing, yes, but we have to fix this. We have to fix the system. We have to put a time limit on the amount of time that people have to spend in one place to get these basic checks done. A time limit on checks for health and security, a 30-day limit, would help get these people out of these places into the community on a bridging visa, which would actually help facilitate their recovery from the awful experiences they've been through. It would ensure that we look after vulnerable people. It would put Australia back in line with how the rest of the world treats asylum seekers. And I've heard Julia Gillard and Tony Abbott in the last couple of days arguing now over the cost of onshore processing. Well, $2.5 billion was about to be wasted on offshore processing, and the big expense onshore is mandatory detention. You want to save money? Let's do it. Let's put a cap on the amount of time we lock people up. Let's make sure we save money. It's 90% cheaper to process people in the community, 100% fairer and 100% more in line with what Australian values are all about: compassion and a fair go. It's an opportunity we can't afford to miss, please. We can't, don't think that the campaign has to stop now. Actually, this has to be the start of the campaign. We have to prove that onshore processing is the answer, but we have to make it work properly. Thank you.